For the third consecutive week, the UCF football team put up basketball-like numbers, this time 73 points scored by the offense, defense and special teams unit against Austin Peay. And yet, Coach Scott Frost was less than ecstatic despite the fact the Knights set a new school scoring record. The end result was fine, but it was the process that bothered the 42-year-old coach following the team's 73-33 rout of the Governors and Football Championship Subdivision program. "We made some mental mistakes, and I'm not completely happy with our performance," Frost said. "But it's good when you can play anything less than your best and get a win. It's rewarding and it's a good thing, and it's gonna give us a lot to clean up and work on next week." Frost said players weren't all the way dialed in as the number 18 Knights allowed pesky mistakes tackling and less than sharp effort to keep the game relatively close in the first half. Even though the Knights led Austin Peay 45-26 at halftime, the score was still too close for comfort. The Governors only trailed the Knights 248-218 in total yards through 2 quarters. Adding to UCF's bizarre first half was its 2 unsportsmanlike penalties, including one tag to Frost for his outburst after safety Kyle Gibson was called for a targeting violation. Frost told the team it needed to tighten up, refocus and play more disciplined, and the Knights responded with a 28-7 second-half performance. "There were a lot of things happening that we know better than to do," Frost said. "I don't ever want our players to go out there and not give it their all. I don't ever want them to go out there and have someone play harder than them. We're not supposed to reach the ball across the goal line because if you fumble in the end zone, it's a touchback. You're not supposed to throw an elbow at a quarterback's head. Just a bunch of things like that. We know better than to do those things. Sooner or later those things catch up with you. They didn't tonight." Based on sheer talent alone, UCF had enough on the roster to easily defeat Austin Peay, even with Adrian Killens resting on the sidelines after the first quarter and running back Otis Anderson sitting out for the game. Frost said he was resting Anderson, who was a little banged up the previous week. But the Governors managed to give the Knights an uncomfortable early push. In fact, it was the dazzling touchdown reception late in the second quarter by Dredrick Snelson that finally sent UCF into autopilot and safely moving toward a win. Sandwiched between 2 defenders in the end zone, Snelson pulled down a 27-yard touchdown reception while landing on one foot to stay in bounds. "We go against him every day, so we see that every day," said defensive back Mike Hughes, who scored a touchdown on a 91-yard kickoff return. "It wasn't really surprising, but that catch was pretty amazing. I'll give him that. Hopefully he's on SportsCenter top 10 this week." Mackenzie Milton led the Knights with another impressive showing, connecting on 24 of 26 passes for 275 yards, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. With a comfortable 59-33 lead, coaches were able to retire Milton late in the third quarter in favor of backup quarterback Noah Vedral. Despite the early problems, UCF still managed to make history by scoring more than 50 points for 3 consecutive games for the first time this season. Even senior linebacker Shaquem Griffin was able to get in on the action, scoring his first career touchdown before halftime by running back a 20-yard fumble recovery. Fellow linebacker Pat Jasinski forced the fumble. Austin Peay receiver Kyron Moore finished the game with 346 all-purpose yards. The Knights will look to carry the momentum from Saturday's scoring surge on the road against SMU next week. And with USF's loss to Houston Saturday, the Knights are looking to make a strong push for the American Athletic Conference title. "It just shows that in this conference, and in the NCAA in general, you gotta come to play week in and week out," Milton said. "You're always going to get people's best shots, especially if you're unbeaten."